So do you believe this is in any way racist?
G'day, Tom. How you going? No. Look, I mean, I wouldn't be using those words, and I certainly haven't. And part of my role that I see it is to actually, I'll follow the lead of some of the other sensible people here, and trying to say that, we've got this situation. People like members of parliament and community leaders, we've also got a responsibility to play to make sure that we actually get the message out really clearly that this is a dangerous strain, that we've got a lot of work to do. I think certainly the initial messaging probably would have lent to some people to be quite concerned about things that they'd heard. And of course, as you know, if you don't have all of the information, then people just go about and make a whole heap of different, different stories of their own. So there's a feel certainly within the community from people who have contacted me that they're a little bit worried about it. But what I believe really importantly is that this is an issue that's affecting all of Sydney. We've got this strain that is effectively, it's causing us massive problems, and we all just seen the presser. Things are not good, and we've got to make sure that we treat this really seriously. And I just think the way things are couched could be done a lot better. But if you're asking me if it's racist, then no, I don't see this as a racist thing, and I certainly wouldn't be calling it that.
Okay. So let's go first of all to the justification, I suppose. Do you agree, if you look at the area broadly, you have some more migrant communities, perhaps in some instances the messages, the rules aren't getting clear, perhaps in others people are just more likely to say, well, I won't go out, but I'll gather in households, and that's becoming a real problem with Delta. Are these issues that do mean some compliance measures are needed?
Yeah, Tom, look, I think you touched on it before. It's the communication and the messaging. And people would have seen that myself and a few of my colleagues yesterday actually put out some things in language, in different languages, because some of us are fortunate to speak a second language. And that doesn't mean that it's only people who are non-English speaking background who are not necessarily understanding the rules. I mean, people who are quite fluent in, English is their first language are also trying to make sure that they understand the clarity of the rules. And I think as times got better, we've actually been able to make sure that we get that distilled message of what do the rules actually mean? What does it mean that you can do? What does it mean that you can't do? What does it mean when it says you can go out for an essential service, but certain shops are open? What does it mean when it says that you can go and visit people, but it's for compassionate grounds? So, care grounds now has been made much more explicit. I think ultimately the most important thing, and I keep coming back to this, it's the communication. Now, there will be people who will openly flout the rules, and that's not because they're from South Western Sydney. They could be from anywhere. We've seen that, only recently last week with some people who are well outside the Southwest or even outside the Sydney area. Now, those people, of course, flouting those rules and openly defying them, there is a consequence for that. But there's also going to be some people who genuinely don't understand the rules as they are. So we've got to make sure that we communicate that really clearly. And I think that's a really important
is there
role.
An issue with that? Because I think it's 26 languages or something things are being put out in. The government says it's doing as much as it can. You disagree?
Mate, no. Look, the government's certainly the trying to multicultural New South Wales is trying, and I'm not going to have a crack at them. I'm not going to have a crack at the health department. Everybody's got to try here. This is not a partisan thing. This is ultimately something that's going to make sure that we'll get through it. But what I will say, and I've said this before, is that just simply translating a document, putting on a website doesn't mean the message is getting out. Let's try different things. So, if I can speak a different language, well, then I'll go and get on the Arabic radio and just try and explain things. Somebody can speak Greek or whatever it might be. Let's find different ways of getting those messages out. People who, not everybody watches, say, the mainstream media and things like that. But if we get the message right and we get the message to everyone in every possible way, then I think we go about a way to make sure that everyone at least understands what the current restrictions are. And when that's the case, then of course you will expect a great level of compliance. And if people choose not to comply, well, then I think that's the consequence that needs to, they'll face the consequences that everybody would face who's not complying.